Dark day for justice. Convoy trials sparks fears of political revenge in Canada. Many Canadians see this as a dark day for justice. The Freedom Convoy, once a symbol of protest against pandemic mandates, has become the center of a national debate on civil liberties and political overreach. Over 3 years later, the legal pursuit of leaders Lich and Chris Barber has reignited controversy. Though convicted only of mischief, Crown prosecutors are seeking harsh prison sentences, 7 and 8 years, sparking outrage. Critics argue these punishments are not about justice, but about making an example of political dissenters. Dark days for justice isn't just a phrase. It reflects real concern that Canada's legal system is being weaponized. Crown prosecutors submitted over 1,000 pages and are demanding longer sentences than many violent criminals face. They also want to seize Barber's truck, Big Red, a symbol of the protest. For many, this resembles political retribution disguised as due process. The scale of punishment for a minor charge raises questions about fairness and whether the justice system is being used to silence rather than serve. The Freedom Convoy, which began in 2022 as a protest against federal mandates, evolved into a larger movement about civil rights and distrust of government elites. Truckers occupied Ottawa's downtown for weeks, sparking backlash and eventually leading to the use of the Emergencies Act. That decision split the nation and shaped years of political debate. Now, in 2025, the convoy's leaders face trial not for violence, but for mischief and allegedly urging others to ignore court orders, a legal battle many see as symbolic of deeper democratic tensions. These charges might sound trivial, and that's because, in the grand scheme of Canadian criminal law, they are. Mischief is typically dealt with through fines or brief sentences, not multi-year prison terms. That's what makes this case so controversial. As Lich revealed on social media, she hadn't even received the full sentencing documentation before learning that the Crown wanted to lock her up for nearly a decade. Chris Barber faces even harsher treatment, with the Crown seeking an 8-year sentence. Many critics argue this goes far beyond deterrence. It sends a message that standing up to government policy, even peacefully, can come at a life-altering cost. What's also troubling to many Canadians is the apparent political silence surrounding the case, particularly from the Conservative Party. In 2022 and 2023, the Freedom Convoy energized the Conservative base and helped leader Poilievre capture the imagination of voters disillusioned with the Liberal government. Poilievre praised the truckers during his leadership campaign, calling them heroes and celebrating their stand against government overreach. But in the lead-up to the sentencing hearings, his voice, and the voice of his party, was noticeably absent. That silence drew sharp criticism from influencers, journalists, and former convoy supporters who accused the Conservatives of turning their backs on the very people who had given them political momentum. Some observers argue that the Conservative Party's restraint is based on the legal concept of sub judice, a convention that discourages politicians from commenting on active legal matters. But legal experts like Keith Wilson and Eva Chipiuk reject that as a blanket excuse. They note that sub judice doesn't prevent politicians from speaking out about the proportionality of sentences or the allocation of court resources, particularly when public confidence in the justice system is at stake. Silence, they argue, isn't about legal prudence, it's about political calculation. It's hard to ignore the contrast. While Lich and Barber have been publicly branded as radicals, insurrectionists, and threats to democracy, they were never charged with any such crimes. Their actual convictions boil down to mischief, an offense that one legal analyst compared to doing a burnout in a parking lot. Yet the Crown's approach to punishment reflects something far more severe. It's as if the state is retroactively punishing them not for what they did, but for what they symbolized. And while some media outlets have begun to question the optics, many political leaders are still steering clear of the conversation. To their credit, a few Conservative MPs have now spoken out, calling the Crown's proposed sentences excessive. Poilievre himself finally broke his silence, just as the sentencing hearing began, criticizing what he described as political retribution and asking why nonviolent demonstrators were being treated more harshly than repeat violent offenders. Still, many argue the statement came too late and only after public pressure mounted. It echoes a previous controversy, when Poilievre stayed quiet during nationwide parental protests over gender curriculum in schools, only to comment once the backlash became politically unavoidable. Critics wonder if the same pattern is repeating itself here. All of this plays out against the backdrop of a freshly elected government. On April 28, 2025, Canada held a snap federal election. Justin Trudeau stepped aside after handing over the reins of the Liberal Party to Mark Carney, a former Bank of Canada governor. Carney won the election and became Prime Minister, though his Liberals were reduced to a minority with just 169 seats. The Conservatives, under Poilievre, secured 144 seats, while the Bloc and NDP trailed behind. While the election centered heavily on foreign policy and economic stewardship, issues like justice reform and civil liberties were overshadowed. But now, with the convoy trial back in the headlines, that may change. The stakes of this case go far beyond the fate of two individuals. What happens to Lich and Barber may set a precedent for how Canada handles peaceful civil disobedience. Will dissent be treated as a criminal threat or as a necessary part of democratic society? And what message does it send when political leaders, once eager to embrace a movement, go quiet when its members need them most? If nothing else, the convoy sentencing hearings have become a referendum on the integrity of Canadian justice. When peaceful protest leads to harsher penalties than violent crime, when protesters are branded as extremists without proof, and when political convenience overrides moral conviction, it's not just the defendants who are on trial, it's the system itself. And in this moment, many Canadians are asking whether we are witnessing the pursuit of justice or the pursuit of vengeance. As the court prepares to deliver its verdict in August, the nation waits, not just for a legal decision, but for political accountability. The convoy trial has become more than a case. It's a mirror. And what it reflects about Canada's legal and political institutions may shape public trust for years to come. Whether the country sees this as justice served or justice denied, one thing is clear. This is not just another courtroom drama. It is, as many are now calling it, a dark day for justice.